I'm loving hearing your stories together, and I can imagine when you get together privately as well, there's some cracking stories. If you were going to sit around a table and you were going to bring in some other managers, let's say 2 or 3 managers, to sit down and just have a private dinner with, who would you both be bringing along?
Well, I was always bringing Sir Alex, so.
I would if I want. I'd be kicking him under the table, mate.
You know what I mean?
After what he did to me, but that's another subject. He's a good manager, but I felt let down by Alex at times. So, but I will not go into that today. You'll have to go on my podcast here about that.
Okay, thank you. Good plug.
Who would you have then?
No, I'd have Cloughie. Obviously,
yeah.
I'd have Cloughie. I had 2 luncheons with him, and I've never been mesmerised like. He was just amazing. And Derek Pavis.
Yeah. Used to be a Forest director, didn't he?
And he tried to get Cloughie out.
I know.
So Cloughie hated him. So Cloughie, when we got success and we got promotion, he said to me that one of them, Adam, how you've got promotion working for that? I'll never know. And they had a training ground like to die for at that time, Forest, and we had a little over the. I don't know whether you still had that, just over the bridge, a little 5-a-side pitch.
Oh yeah, they still had that, but that was for the
kids. Was that the kids?
Yeah.
So we used to train on this little bit, and he used to walk across Cloughie in the morning with Alan Hill and a black Labrador, and he used to walk across and stop on our pitch. He didn't used to go round. Oh no, not Cloughie. He used to walk across and stop, and he looked across and looked at what we were doing. We had pads on, kicking shit out of each other, and he'd just go like this, and just carry on walking to his But he's some of the things he said when we were out, he was amazing to listen to as a young manager.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. And like you said, you would have pick Alex, and there's some top man. I mean, what Sam did, and when I say he was before his time, Wenger was the next. Wenger to me changed everybody's outlook because nobody had heard of Wenger. Who the hell's David Dean bringing in here? Wenger, never heard of it, but he changed a lot of outlook. Did Wenger, and it's so over the time. I can't remember who you'd have, Sam. Funny wise, are you with me? I know that you're Alex and that.
Well, managers wise, funny wise.
Well, we had Ian Holloway on the podcast.
Ollie's good.
Yeah, but you can't understand Ollie, can you? How can you have him on? You couldn't have him at dinner, could you? You'd have to keep kicking him under the table. What are you saying, Ollie?
No.
I love the idea of you, Wenger, Alex Ferguson, Sam, and Ian Holloway all sat around. I feel like that's going to get very, very feisty and interesting.
But yeah, listen, when you have arguments and you fall out with people and what have you, but you basically at end of a game, it's all gone. It's like me. Some of my daughter looks at some of my YouTube clippings. She phoned me a while ago when she was she's at a hospital now. She's a radiotherapist, and she phoned me to say they were using some of my clippings for a bit of motivational thing that morning. So I said, "Was it bleeped, darling?" She went, "No, Dad, it wasn't bleeped." So I said, "I'm sorry, darling." I said, "But that's how it was, isn't it? You just do get carried away at times when you're a manager." But when I used to give my players a rollicking, especially that one you've seen at 96th minute when Lescott scored, and Morgan should have been marking him, and I got let rip in that place. But I go out and do the press, and when I come back in, it's gone. I've never been one. I had a manager, Jim Eiley, who, when he shouted at you, he didn't talk to you for a week or 2 weeks.
Oh, no.
And you'd walk down the tunnel and you'd look to say hello to him and he'd look away. Whereas I would, as soon as I've done press, I come back in, the lads know it's gone then. So although they all used to try not to attract my eyes, just after a game, they always used to look around. Because once I got his eyes, I'd kill him.
The funniest manager ever, without any question of a doubt, was called Rasputin the Mad Monk. He named himself that.
Who is it?
John McGrath.
Oh,
John McGrath was...
He was a good lad, wasn't he? He was full of it. It's one story, Natalie, John McGrath said to me, this is when I was first, early doors, starting up, and I'm talking about directors and that, and the football game, how you're always near the sack. And he said, "Neil, let me tell you," he said, "when I went to Port Vale, they said, an old man who'd been there 50 years, I said, 'Where's my office?' to so-and-so. He said, 'Come, follow me, Gaffer.' And he walked down this damp tunnel and he turned right and he went round this other one and The wind was howling down the tunnel, around another 2 bends, and he come to this door. And on the door, at the side, there was a blackboard. And on the blackboard, it wrote, manager. And it was in chalk. And everybody laughed like that. And he said, no, that weren't the funny bit. He said it was the wet effing sponge at the side that was the John McGrath. There was a wet sponge at the side. He said, that's how precarious football management
His
is,
team
isn't it?
talks were legendary because there were metaphors, like you mean, and some of the younger lads, because I went there in my 30s, some of the younger lads were looking bewildered. He came in one day and we were playing. We were playing in the 4th division, and we played on the AstroTurf at the time. And he came in, and he's John's like, got it. He's all right, lads. Didn't it like? So he goes, today, lads, today we're going to be fishermen. And what we're going to do, he says, we're going to get our rod. He said, then we're going to put the float on, put the hook on. We're going to get the maggots. And he said, then we're going to cast it into the river. And we're going to wait. And wait. And when the float starts bobbing, we wait even longer. He says, and then the float goes under. He said, just snatch it in, bash him on the head. And all the lads are going. And he walks out. So what's he going on about? I said, we're playing counter-attacking football, you daft bugger. That's what we're doing.